Consider the goldfish. Many years ago, I went to Western Heights Baptist Church to meet with then pastor, Brother Greg Brown, and was going to meet with another couple about them forming a partnership and doing a church plant. As Greg and I were waiting for the couple to arrive, he said, "Come on, I've got something I want to show you." And he took me to a small pond that one of the church members had installed between the main sanctuary and the youth building. He explained how this particular church member, a landscaper, felt a burden to install the pond. He further explained how the church did not have the funds to install the pond, but God miraculously intervened, made a way where there was no way, and the pond became a reality. The church subsequently adopted the pond as its own little green space and created a small ecosystem complete with flowers, frogs, lizards, fish, and etc. It's really quite nice. As Greg and I were talking, he pointed to a rather large fish and said, "Do you know what kind of fish that is?" Being the astute student of nature that I am, I quickly surmised that, since the fish was gold, it must be a goldfish. I told Greg, "It's a goldfish," to which he replied, "You are exactly right. It's a goldfish. But Aaron, look how big it is." The fish was about 5 or 6 inches long and 4 inches tall. He asked, "Aaron, do you know where that fish came from?" I started to say from a mama and daddy fish, but thought better of it. I said, "No, I don't." He said that fish came from an aquarium, and he went on to explain that as long as the fish was in the aquarium, it would never have grown to the size it is now. It could only reach its full potential when it was set free from the boundaries of the aquarium and placed in its natural habitat. In other words, as long as it was in the aquarium, the boundaries that had been placed upon it by somebody else limited its ability to grow. Well, being the preacher I am, the spiritual application mode immediately kicked in, and I thought to myself, "Whoa, this will preach." And I think I just found my next devotional from that fish swimming in the fish pond at Western Heights Baptist Church. And sure enough, here you are enjoying the devotion. As I pondered the story of the goldfish Greg had just told me about, 3 tremendous truths came into focus. First, while boundaries may sustain life as we know it, keep us comfortable, and guarantee our safety, they retard our ability to grow and reach our full potential. Think about it. As long as the goldfish was in the aquarium, he was comfortable. Predators could not reach him. He was safe. But all the while, the boundary that kept him comfortable and safe prevented him from reaching his full potential. And while the journey would be dangerous and perhaps even fatal, happiness for him could only be found beyond the boundary that imprisoned him. Happiness meant risking losing it all to find the place where he could thrive, the place God intended for him. In life, boundaries come from different people and situations. Some we place upon ourselves. They stem from our insecurities and doubts about the talent and ability God has placed within us. Sometimes they come from other people, whom we allow to place false boundaries in our lives by believing the negative words they speak and the pessimistic attitude they display toward us. However, regardless of where they come from, we are not too dissimilar from the goldfish. While these boundaries may keep us comfortable, safe, and sustain life as we know it, happiness can only be found beyond the boundaries that imprison us. Indeed, happiness may mean risking losing it all to find the place where we can thrive, the place God intended for us. Secondly, there are some boundaries in life from which only God can release us. Again, consider the goldfish. There was no physical way he could release himself from the aquarium. He could not break through the glass walls. There was no trap door at the bottom that he could open and swim through. The water level was kept low enough to prevent him from jumping out the top. And even if he did get out under his own power, certain death awaited him. He was powerless to release himself from the boundaries that imprisoned him. He was forced to wait on God to deliver him. Oh, and not simply to deliver him, but to orchestrate events to sustain his life once he delivered him. Sound familiar? It would be my guess that many here in this devotion today feel trapped by the circumstances of your life. Oh, yeah, you could get out of your circumstances, but you cannot see any means of sustaining your happiness when you do. But the good news is that just as God orchestrated the events that led to freedom and sustained life for our goldfish, he can and will do the same for you. And finally, when set free, the only responsibility the goldfish had was to thrive in the place God had created for him, doing what he had created him to do. As Christians, is not our mission in life identical to that of the goldfish? Aren't we to identify the place of service God has created for us? Aren't we to risk all to obtain that place? And when God orchestrates the events, removes the barrier, and places us there, aren't we to thrive? As I close this devotion today, I do so with this question. Are you in the place God created for you, doing what he created you to do and thriving? Consider the goldfish. Lord, I believe there are those today listening to this devotion who seem trapped or maybe are trapped by their life circumstances, God. God, would you remind them that you are more than able to release them and set them free and cause them to thrive from any situation, God, that may have them bound in their life. And God, I pray today that through this little devotion, you would set some folks free from the boundaries that have them bound. Lord, put them where they need to be so they may thrive for you. And I ask this in your name, amen.